In a modern city, a massive snake moves between buildings as cars shake and people run in panic. The ground trembles with every movement. 60 million years ago, a snake existed that was longer than a bus and heavier than a car. But what if it never went extinct? What if that ancient predator continued to evolve until today? Now the real questions begin. Could Titanoboa survive in today's world with colder climates and human dominance? How large could it become after millions of years of evolution? Would humans stand any chance? And the most disturbing question remains, what would it eat? To understand this, we go back in time. Titanoboa lived around 60 million years ago after dinosaurs disappeared. It reached 40 to 50 feet and weighed over 1 ton. It lived in hot, humid swamps where temperatures were higher than today. As an ambush predator, it used stealth and crushed prey using constriction. But this was only the beginning of what evolution could achieve. These conditions allowed cold-blooded reptiles to grow larger and stronger, creating one of the most powerful predators ever discovered in Earth history at that time period. Imagine a world where Titanoboa never went extinct and continued its journey through time. As the Earth slowly cooled and climates began to change, this massive predator would face a critical challenge. Survival would no longer depend only on size, but on adaptation. Over generations, Titanoboa would begin to develop better temperature regulation, allowing it to function in cooler environments. Instead of relying entirely on external heat, its body might evolve to retain warmth more efficiently. This change would give it a major advantage over other reptiles. Slowly, it would spread beyond its original swamp habitats. At first, these changes would be subtle, but over thousands of years, they would shape a more resilient and adaptable creature. This early phase would be crucial because only those individuals that could adjust to environmental shifts would survive and pass on their traits. Evolution would begin to transform Titanoboa from a purely climate-dependent reptile into a more versatile predator capable of surviving in a wider range of conditions. As millions of years pass, the transformation becomes more dramatic. Titanoboa would not just survive, it would improve. Natural selection would favor individuals that are faster, smarter, and more efficient hunters. Its movement could become quicker and more controlled, allowing it to strike with greater precision. Its senses would also sharpen. Improved vision would help it detect movement even in low-light conditions, while advanced heat-sensing abilities would allow it to locate warm-blooded prey with incredible accuracy. Its muscles would grow stronger, increasing the power of its constriction, making escape nearly impossible for its victims. At the same time, its jaw could evolve to become more flexible, allowing it to consume a wider variety of prey. Intelligence, even at a basic level, might improve as well, helping it learn patterns in prey behavior. These combined adaptations would turn Titanoboa into an even more efficient predator than it was in the past, capable of dominating its environment with greater control and effectiveness. One of the biggest questions is whether Titanoboa would continue to grow larger or become smaller over time. At first, it might seem logical that evolution would push it toward even greater size, making it more powerful and unstoppable. However, there is a trade-off. A larger body requires more energy and more food to survive. In a world where resources are not always abundant, this could become a disadvantage. Evolution does not always favor the biggest creature, but the most efficient one. Over time, Titanoboa might reach a perfect balance between size and survival. It could become slightly smaller than its ancient ancestor, but more agile and energy efficient. This would allow it to hunt more frequently and survive in environments where food is less predictable. Strength would still remain one of its key advantages, but it would be combined with better endurance and adaptability. This balance would make it not just a powerful predator, but a sustainable one in a constantly changing world. With improved adaptability, Titanoboa would no longer be limited to swamps. It could begin to expand into new environments such as dense forests, river systems, and possibly even areas closer to human settlements. Rivers would provide a natural pathway for movement, allowing it to travel long distances while staying hidden. Forests would offer cover, making it easier to ambush prey. As it spreads into these new territories, its encounters with other species would increase, including humans. At first, these interactions might be rare, but over time they could become more frequent. Livestock could disappear and unexplained sightings might begin to surface. This expansion would mark a turning point in its evolutionary story. Titanoboa would no longer be a distant relic of the past, but an active part of the modern ecosystem. And this is where things start to get dangerous, because a creature that combines size, intelligence, and adaptability could become one of the most formidable predators the modern world has ever faced. As humans continue expanding their cities into forests, rivers, and natural landscapes, the boundary between civilization and wilderness begins to disappear. At first, the changes are subtle. Farmers start noticing livestock vanishing without clear evidence of predators. In remote areas, people report strange sightings of something massive moving silently through dense vegetation. Fear begins to spread through local communities as stories grow more frequent and more disturbing. Governments respond by sending teams to investigate, attempting to track and identify the unknown creature behind these incidents. However, every attempt leads to nothing. The creature responsible is incredibly difficult to detect. It moves without sound, blends into its surroundings, and avoids open confrontation. Even if encountered directly, it is nearly unstoppable due to its sheer physical strength. What makes the situation even worse is the uncertainty. No one knows what they are dealing with. But the real danger was not just its size. It was something far more unpredictable, growing beneath the surface of evolution itself. At this point, a shocking realization begins to emerge. Titanoboa might not need to grow larger to become more dangerous. In fact, evolution often rewards intelligence and efficiency more than raw size. A creature that can think strategically, even in a limited way, combined with stealth and precision, could be far more lethal than a massive but predictable predator. Over time, this modern Titanoboa could develop terrifying upgrades. Its camouflage could improve, allowing it to blend perfectly into forests, rivers, and shadows. Its strike speed could become faster, making escape nearly impossible once it attacks. It might even evolve the ability to hunt larger and more complex prey by targeting weaknesses instead of relying on brute force. This combination of traits would redefine what people expect from a giant snake. A modern Titanoboa would no longer just be an oversized reptile from the past. It would be something far more calculated and efficient. A perfect predator designed not only for strength, but for survival in an ever-changing world. From a scientific perspective, evolution does not favor the largest creature in every situation. Instead, it favors efficiency, adaptability, and survival advantage. In today's world, climate conditions are significantly cooler than the ancient Earth where Titanoboa originally thrived. This natural limitation would restrict how large such a creature could become. Extreme size requires vast amounts of energy, and in modern ecosystems, sustaining that energy demand would be difficult. When we compare it to modern large snakes like anacondas and pythons, we see a clear pattern. These species are powerful, but they are also optimized for energy conservation and stealth hunting rather than endless growth. Therefore, if Titanoboa existed today, it would likely be slightly smaller than its ancient ancestor, but significantly more advanced in its hunting abilities and survival strategies. This makes it important to understand that evolution does not simply create bigger monsters, it creates better adapted ones. And in this case, that adaptation could make it even more dangerous than before. The larger lesson behind this scenario is simple but powerful. Evolution is not about becoming bigger, it is about becoming better suited to survive. Nature constantly adapts in ways that are often unexpected and unpredictable. Over millions of years, survival depends on efficiency rather than size alone. This means that some of the most dangerous creatures in history are not necessarily the largest, but the most efficient at using their environment, energy, and instincts. It is a reminder that power in nature is not always visible in size or appearance. Sometimes it lies in precision, adaptation, and silent survival. So, if Titanoboa had survived and continued evolving until today, the world would look completely different from what we know. Human dominance might not be as absolute as it seems. It raises an important question. Would humans truly remain at the top of the food chain, or would something else challenge that position? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this story interesting, you might also enjoy our next video on what would happen if megalodons still existed in today's oceans.